Good evening and welcome to tonight's live virtual program from the Howell Carnegie District Library. I'm Jamie from the Adult Services Department, and thank you so much for joining us. I have a few housekeeping items to share before we start the presentation. Tonight's program is scheduled to run until 8 o'clock. During the program, all attendees will be muted, so please share any questions for the presenter or report any technical issues you may have in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat throughout the program and will assist with any technical issues you may have. After the presentation, we'll address as many audience questions as we can before the program ends. Don't forget to visit our website to discover more upcoming events from the Howell Carnegie District Library. Tonight, we have Shirley Jackson from the League of Women Voters here to get us started and introduce tonight's presenter. Take it away, Shirley.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I want to, first of all, personally thank the Howell Carnegie Library and tonight's host, Jamie Perdue, for making this virtual program available to the League of Women Voters of Livingston County and to the general public. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes political parties or candidates, and the League remains as one of the most trusted sources of nonpartisan election information for American voters. If you're unfamiliar with the wide variety of resources we offer, you are encouraged to visit our website, lwvlivingstonco.org. And it would also be wonderful if you decide to join us. Tonight, the League of Women Voters of Livingston County are pleased to host an educational program that focuses on county redistricting. Joseph Bridgman, the election coordinator for Livingston County, will describe the process, challenges, and realities of drawing a fair map for the county. We are fortunate to have Joe lead this program, and because he's the type who won't say much about himself, I need to let you know some impressive things about him. Joe's been working in Michigan elections, not just Livingston County, since 2003. And he has held a variety of positions, and so he knows the election process inside and out. He holds a number of degrees, most notably a certified elections registration administrator, which is the highest professional achievement for election officials in the country. He also holds a master municipal clerk degree, of which he's duly proud, but you're not going to hear it from him. So, and now I turn the program over to Joe Bridgman.
Right. Well, good evening. I hope everybody is doing well and enjoying the warm weather. And again, thanks to the League for putting this presentation on. And also thanks to the library and Jamie for hosting and making sure that our technology works well tonight. So with that, I will just kind of move right on into the presentation if that's good, okay with everyone. I am going to share my screen. I do have a PowerPoint we will share, and then we will also get that to the library so that they can put that on the website for anybody that wants to get more information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully this looks good. Can everybody see that well? So basically, what we're going to talk about tonight is redistricting. And here's our agenda for this evening. What is redistricting, first off? We're going to talk a little bit about, explain the Michigan Independent Redistricting Commission and what role they have. Livingston County, we're going to talk about Livingston County census data. And then we'll talk about the Livingston County actual redistricting and what took place in there. And then we'll talk about the Apportionment Commission and their process and what they really went through to make sure that all of this works out in the best interest of representation for the county. So first and foremost, wanted to really tell everybody what redistricting is, because people think different things when they talk redistricting. It's the process which new congressional, meaning the U.S. Senate or U.S. Congressional districts, representatives in Congress, state legislature, district boundaries are drawn. It happens every 10 years. So right after the federal census, and we all know in 2020 was the federal census. So all of this process actually takes place after the 2020 census and into 2021. Prior to 2018, it was the job of the Michigan State Legislature was the entity that actually drew the lines and redrew all of the congressional and the legislative lines. But in November of 18, Proposal 18-2 created the Independent Redistricting Commission. Actually, it's the Independent Redistricting Citizens Commission is what it created. And what it did is it took that redistricting out of the state legislature and put that into the hands of 13 individuals that are appointed. But that's what that did. And you can see here on this slide that that proposal passed statewide 61% to about 38%. And here in Livingston County, that proposal was 52% to about 44%. Now, why am I talking about this independent redistricting? Because it does impact Livingston County, and it does impact how people will be voting on in August and November of this year. So, but it did not change the county commissioner districts, how they are drawn. So this was strictly for the congressional and state legislatures. And here's who serves on the Michigan Independent Redistricting Commission. And it consists of 13 registered voters. They're randomly selected through an application process. 4 commissioners are Democratic, 4 commissioners are from the Republican Party, and 5 commissioners that don't have any major political party affiliations. The commission first convened September of 2020. So it took from the time that the proposal was adopted in November, and it took until September until all of that application process was done, and these individuals were seated and appointed. So with all that being said, when do these districts take effect? And they take effect actually November 1 of 2021. These districts plans will take the first election that we're going to have to elect these candidates in these new districts is August of this year. August 2nd of 2022 will be a primary, and then of course they'll be elected in the November 8th election in 22. And this is what Livingston County's redistricting looks like on a more of a county level for the Independent Redistricting Commission final maps. As you can tell, the U.S. congressional, it includes Livingston County and several other counties. And we're now the 7th district. We used to be the 8th district. Now we're the 7th district, U.S. congressional district. The state Senate, however, it did change a little bit. Our state senator, it used to be just Livingston County, and now there's some outlining counties or townships and so forth that include the Senate District 22, and that is our state senator 22. That's the one that did not change. Then we go over to the third map here, which shows the State House of Representatives. And the State House changed fairly significantly for Livingston County. We used to have 2 House members, and now we have 4. So we are now part of the 48th district, which includes Genoa, Hamburg, parts of Putnam, and northern Washtenaw County. We have the 49th district, which you can see Brighton, Green Oak, the city of Plymouth, city of Brighton, sorry, and then some portions of Oakland County that it goes into. The majority of Livingston County is made up with the 50th district, which you can see that. And then we have the 72nd district, which makes up 3 precincts in Tyrone and the northeast corner there of Oakland and some Shiawassee and Genesee County there. So these are the new maps that are on our website. So if anybody is looking to find out what district they're in, these are available there to show you where they're at. The numbers on the state House representative districts, those numbers, that little numbers in there represent your precincts. And so if you're looking, you will be able to see which precinct you live in and which district you live in. So that's the Independent Redistricting Commission, and that was done on a state level with the 13 members. So now we move into what do we do at Livingston County for our Board of Canvassers or our Board of Commissioners. So our Board of Commissioners, we're required the same way as the state every 10 years to redistrict or redraw our county commissioner lines. So that is based off of, everything is based off of population. So the first thing, Livingston County census data here, this map just shows you a quick snapshot of where the growth was in Livingston County over the last 10 years. The 2020 census population was 193,866 versus 2010 was 180,967. Livingston County grew, one of the counties that grew the most, which was Livingston County at about 7.12% in population. And we were, that moved us, actually, Livingston County, to the 10th largest county in Michigan. Before the 2020 census, there was a couple of counties, or at least one county before us. We were more on the 11th side. Now we are the 10th largest county in Michigan. These are just some more comparison numbers of the population change by jurisdiction or by community. This can be found on our website at livgov.com on the planning website. There's a lot of good information there for individuals to look at. But with this information that I have here was presented by SIMCOG, which is the Southeast Michigan Government's organization. And they just put together this, and you can see the differences between the 2020 population and the 2010 and the 2000 census difference. And you can see the difference in different communities and so forth. If you look at the bottom down there, Unadilla Township, for example, from 2010 to 2020, it lost a few voters, or not voters, of population. You look at up at the top at the Brighton City, from 2010 to 2020, you know, 2 voters that are not two members of population that they gained. So it was just, it was kind of random, but you can see all the differences there. And this is a neat chart to kind of look to see and follow the population. And why am I telling you all about the census data and looking at these numbers and so forth? And primarily reason is that the county redistricting relies heavily on population numbers, just like the statewide redistricting relies on these numbers. County redistricting, you know, Proposal 18.2 changed the process again for the congressional and the state, but did not change it for the county. County redistricting or apportionment, and you'll hear me tonight say Apportionment Commission or redistricting, but the Apportionment Commission is the commission that is in charge of redistricting, if you will, for the county. And it is under Michigan compiled law 46.401 through 46.416 that we have to abide by and move through. So 4601, 46401, it creates the County Apportionment Commission. And it charges us that within 60 days after the publication of the census, the county apportionment commission shall apportion the county into not less than 5 nor more than 21 county commissioner districts, and as nearly in equal population as practical. Okay. So the first thing that the commission typically looks at and votes on is, what is our population? And they take the population of 193,866 and they divide that by 5, 6, 7, all of those different numbers. Livingston County had 9 county commissioners prior to the redistricting. And when we took 193,866 and divided that by 9, it still gave a number that the commission felt was adequate for representation per district. And so that's the reason, one of the reasons that they kept 9 commissioners and they didn't go to 10 commissioners or 11 commissioners or down to 7 commissioners. But that's one of the first things that the County Apportionment Commission does, is determine how many commissioners that they're going to have. And that talks about the different things, and this is about the 4102 establishes the maximum number of commissioners, which the maximum number is 21 that you can have. So more on that, and I don't want to bore you with all these statutes, but this is kind of leading into some of the good stuff here, I guess, if you will. But it also, 403 dictates who the members of the county commission, County Apportionment Commission are. This is not something that the Board of Commissioners gets to vote on and appoint. This is in statute. So the statute says members shall be, and it doesn't say maybe, but it says shall be, the county clerk, county treasurer, prosecuting attorney, and the county chairpersons of the 2 major political parties. In this case, it's the Democratic chairperson and the Republican chairperson of their respective parties. The County Apportionment Commission has to meet and be compliant with the Open Meetings Act. Writings and documents must be available to the public. And in what our commission did, they did put things out on the website, so individuals were able to access any documents that were presented to the board. One of the things is that that is required, and the way that the commission works is that once the census information is delivered to us, and then we start that 60-day window, and then the Apportionment Commission has to convene and adopt the rules of procedure. So the rules of procedures can be varied depending on county. There is nothing in the statute that says that they have to be A, B, C, or D. So each Apportionment Commission sets their own rules of procedures. County by county, typically they fall within the same parameters as far as setting rules. A lot of counties communicate to one another to have similar rules, so there's not just craziness out there. But there's a couple of things that the Livingston County Apportionment Commission did this year. Well, actually, last year in 21, that was very unique, I guess, to some of the Apportionment Commission. And they held their meetings in a hybrid format. The first time that they've ever done that. They're not required to do that, but because the Open Meetings Act allowed it in last year in I think it was 2021 that they allowed that to a certain period of time. Since they allowed it, the Open Meetings Act, they did a hybrid meeting, meaning allowed the public to attend and address the commission through Zoom, and remotely, if you will. Again, they were not required to do that, but they felt for transparency that and to have more people participate in the process, that was an option that we had at the county, and they chose to do that. So every one of our commission meetings were put out on Zoom, and there is a YouTube channel with those meetings and that information out there on there. The other thing that the commission did that was unique was that the commission allowed for the first time members of the public to submit maps or plans for consideration for redistricting. Nothing in statute says that they must allow the public to submit maps. The commission is the one that is charged with drawing the maps and doing the redistricting. However, our commission felt that it was important to bring the public in and have the public participate in this process. So they did. With that, the way that the plans or the maps were drawn had to be configured to these 8 guidelines, and each map had to have these components in them in order to be a successful redistricting map, if you will. And just to run through a few of them, you know, they need to be as equal in population as possible. Contiguous. The districts were required to be contiguous, which is a challenge in Livingston County because of some things, and I'll show you here in a few moments. They need to be compact and as square as possible. As you can see, my little diagram over there, that's a diagram of the actual definition of gerrymandering, if you will, and it shows that you can see that little creature there, if you will, of how that district is particularly all drawn and wraps around the other districts. And that would not be considered compact and square. You know, a couple other things that people didn't really realize was that combine parts of a township with parts of a city only if it meets population. They don't want you to only divide township villages if necessary. Only divide precincts if necessary. Residents of state institutions cannot register to vote and are excluded from that count. Districts shall be drawn to affect, not drawn to affect partisan political advantage. So those are some of the things, or those are the 8 guidelines that the county had in order to draw their lines. Other things that actually drove and were part of the decision making for the redistricting was federal and state court rulings. One of the things is the 14th Amendment. Equal Protection Clause requires districts to be as equal in population as possible. And I know I keep harping on this equal in population as possible, but that is one of the big driving factors of reapportionment or redistricting. Case law established that the maximum deviation between districts to be 11.9, okay? And what that deviation means is that one district cannot be larger or smaller than another district more than 11.9%, okay? And it'll make sense here in just a minute when I show you a couple of diagrams here of how that they did that. So court rulings also played an impact on these other 8 items that were there. So what was the process for the County Apportionment Commission? Each commission within the state, their county commission, apportionment commission probably did a little different, but ours did it in this way. And one of the things, the first thing that they did is they reviewed the precinct populations numbers from our GIS department. So our GIS department, which is our mapping department here at the county, was a tremendous help in determining and isolating, okay, here's everything is done by precinct, by jurisdiction. So all of the jurisdictions were laid out. The jurisdictions were then laid out by precinct, and those numbers were shared by the GIS department with the commission. So they had an idea of the city of Brighton, the city township of Brighton, which precincts had the population numbers that they had. And then the commission then accepted those population numbers that were presented by the GIS department, and they were used to draft the apportionment plans and or maps. So citizens that submitted maps were given that information. That information was provided on our website, and then they could take that data and draw their own maps and come up with their population numbers. They also set that September 20th of 2021 was the map submission deadline. That means that anyone, even commissioners that wanted to submit maps, had to submit those to the county clerk's office by September 20th of 2021. The commission received 14 maps or plans. 6 were from commissioners and 8 was from the public. So that was quite a few maps that the commissioners all had to look through and determine which they felt were the best. Then at a meeting later than that, each commission member, with a consensus of the commission, each commission member was allowed to bring forth up to 4 maps from all the maps that were submitted. So out of the 14 maps that were submitted, each commissioner could bring up to 4 for the commission to consider. And at the meeting at the October 6th, basically each commissioner brought forth 2 maps. So they had 2 maps that they liked. And then after the discussion and after a couple of different banters back and forth of which maps that they liked and why they liked those maps and that kind of thing, map number 9 was adopted, which is now the new district map starting in January 1 of 23. So again, the county commissioner districts start January 1 of 2023, the new districts. However, they will be the new districts. You'll be voting on the new districts at the August 2nd primary for those new commissioners, and then also in November the 8th, which is the nominations of the parties. Whoever is nominated in August will then move to November, and then those individuals would then be elected in November to those new districts. And that was a side note, obviously. And then, of course, the plan is submitted to the Secretary of State. So the Secretary of State then implements or has that plan, and then we implement that. So, you know, some of the challenges that the commission had is that there is no perfect map. It would be awesome and great if you could take a county and divide it into squares and it work out perfectly. However, that is never the case because of different population in different locations. And if you look at Livingston County, we have a heavy population on our southeast side, southeast corner. And that's where a lot of our population is. And so it makes it a little bit more difficult to, you know, do some of these mappings. The other issues that really were found and brought to light was some of the contiguity in these districts. Again, one of the criteria is the districts shall be contiguous. Well, for example, Marion Township has parcels that actually are within the city of Howell boundaries. And the reason of that is that when the city of Howell, years ago, annexed portions of the Marion Township, they didn't annex certain little isolated parcels. Well, those little isolated parcels are still part of Marion Township, so therefore it doesn't make one of the precincts in the city of Howell as a contiguous unless you include it with Marion Township. So that was one of the challenges, to have Marion Township and the city of Howell be a district because of the contiguity. The other option, and the thing that really, again, I have talked about this many times, but it's the equal populations of the districts and the compactness. So I told you earlier is that you take 193,866 and you divide that by how many commissioners you have, and you get your target population per district, which it should equal 21,541, give or take, right? So that is your target population. So the target population then is put into this GIS Esri tool, and then the commissioners then drew maps based on precincts that were and townships and cities. And as you can see in the chart on the bottom there, the map that was actually adopted, as you can see, the total population is very, very close to the target population. There are some that are a little bit higher and some that are a little bit lower. And you can see the negatives and the positives based on that total population. But one of the things as you look down is you see the percentage of variance. All the way down on the bottom of that box is that 8.3%. That is the number that the commission had to strive for, that had to be below the 11.9% of variance. So basically you take your variances of each district and add those together and divide those in essence and come up with your 8.38 percentage. The chart on the right, however, shows you a comparison of all the different maps that were presented, which are over 14 maps, and you can see that the difference in the variances fluctuated quite differently. And then if you look, the compact rate rating is how compact were those districts. So you look at some of those variance numbers, but then you look at the compact rate, and the compact rate may not have been very compact, meaning that they're not necessarily contiguous. And if you look at the map that was elected, the chart on the bottom, that compactness rated out to a 90 to 95% compact rate. So if you look at the chart on the right, it shows it was a 90% compact rate, meaning that it was 90% compact, meaning that the districts ran well, squared, and good. And a couple of things that I can point out here too is you look at map number 4, for example. The compact rate was 100% on that. However, the population or the variance was higher. It was 9.23. So you have to look at both of those numbers to see potentially what is the best map to adopt. And you see some of the other maps is some of the numbers which were the compactness was higher and lower, and the variance numbers was higher and lower. but then you have to look at the entire picture of those. So it was it was not a perfect plan on how that the commission moved forward with adopting the maps that they did, except that they tried to look at how compact everything was, what the population deviations were, and tried to make the best decision that they did. With that, the decision that they did make is this. So on the left, you will see that this is the current district boundaries. And when I mean current districts, these are your county commissioner districts that you're being represented at through the end of this year of 22. Starting next year of 1/1 of 23, that map will be your new district or your new district boundaries. Again, the county commissioners will be on the August primary, and then they'll be on the November ballot, and they will start their term January 1 of 23 for these new boundaries. And if you look at the map on the right, you'll see where I was talking about the example I used with Marion Township, the green, the dark green, and Howell City was combined to make a particular district, because if you look, and I know it's very difficult to see this, but if you look, there are some out pockets in actually right at the bottom of that number 3, which stands for precinct 3. You can see those little boxes there. Those little boxes were those out county, or those little pockets of parcels that belong to Marion Township, that were actually within the boundaries of the city of Howell. So that was one of the struggles that the commission had to really look at, is how contiguous were these districts. I believe that they did an adequate job. I think they did a fantastic job of redrawing the lines to the best of their ability. Again, it's may not be the perfect map that everybody agrees with, but they did, I think, the best job that they possibly could with the maps that were submitted. So resources. I know I talked about a lot of different things tonight. I talked about the maps. I talked about the Independent Redistricting Commission. I talked about the census data. I hope you have some more insight of what the Apportionment Commission does and how the redistricting is done. The redistricting is a very vital, important part of county government, because it dictates what representatives are going to represent you at the county level. And again, the importance of equal population, so each member commissioner is representing as equal amount of members of the population as possible. So here are some different links here. This presentation will be available on the website, I believe, of the library. These links, if you want more information, you can go to those. Our contact information is there on the bottom. And that's anytime you want to give us a call, we're here, well, between 8 and 5. And sometimes a little bit later. So, but we're here for you. So at this point, if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to take any questions, or if there's anything in the chat. I know we were going about an hour, but I thought we would be good with maybe cutting a little early if we needed to. So any questions?
Thank you so much, Joe. You did get a couple questions in the chat as you were talking. Your first one was from Shirley. The new map 9, takes effect on January 1st, 2023, but our November 2022 elections are based on this new map, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So that will be The August primary, which is August 2nd, will those commissioners, so when you get your ballots, it will show the new commissioner districts in your particular city or township. And those individuals are then nominated to move to the November 8th election, general election, that will be elected to serve starting January 1.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Shirley. Is it possible to find out what streets or roads the boundary lines are drawn on?
Actually, yes. The boundaries were drawn by precinct. So the precincts are set up by the city and township clerks based on boundaries of major streets, major dividers. For example, you could have a precinct that runs along a railroad track. So precinct 1 might be on the north side of the railroad track, and the precinct 2 might be on the south side of the railroad track. So those are the particular boundaries. On the Livingston website, there's detailed maps on the apportionment page, and also on the elections page. There are more detailed maps that will help you if you're not sure, and it'll show you where those dividers are.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Everyone else, you are welcome to throw questions in the chat, or at this point, you can also unmute yourselves if you had a question that you wanted to ask.
You want me to stop sharing the screen?
Oh. All right, Joe, you have another question in the chat. Has the weather vane on the county building been fixed?
That's above my pay grade. I am not sure, to be honest with you. That's a good question, but that's a facilities question. It's not an elections question. So I can't answer that. Sorry.
All right. Okay. And Kate says this has been really helpful to understanding more about county reapportionment, and she sends her thanks to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
All right. It looks to me like you answered everyone's questions pretty well.
Okay, great. Well, I do appreciate the library, and I appreciate the league putting this on, and I hope that someone got some information out of it, and I hope that it makes a little bit more sense to everyone. So,
well, thank you very much, Joe. This has really been fantastic. So, I mean, it really helps to explain exactly on redistricting and apportionment and reapportionment and some of those kinds of words that we kind of don't know which one to use when. So it's been very helpful. So thank you very much. So I think with that, we want people to know that this program has been recorded and will be loaded onto our YouTube channel and our website along with the libraries. So anyone can access it whenever they want. So if you even want to go back and take another look, you know, it will be there. So the League's mission is to educate voters, and this presentation helps a great deal. So thanks to everyone involved, and really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you all for attending. We were glad to have you here tonight. Please remember to check our website for more upcoming events. And we also have a feedback survey for you. I'm going to put it in the chat right now, but we'll also email that to you. So thank you all for coming, and have a great night.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.